From Viking invasions to Roman occupation, from countryside to coast, from historic wars between the English and the Scots to modern warfare, from a Scottish queen to a gypsy queen, from an artist from Manchester who regularly painted here to a local heroine who became a national icon, to boots discarded from weary walkers, from churches and abbeys to the ruins of priories, and stunning scenery on the way. Join us over the next few weeks as we follow the route of the stunning Northumberland 250. It's a pretty little village, isn't it?
It is, and there's only, what, 800 inhabitants?
Something like that, or even less than that.
There's a lot of holiday let properties, I see.
We've just been for a coffee, didn't film in there because there was music playing. And apparently, Keith bought me lunch when I was at the beach.
I did.
But we're in England. Here's the information board that I mentioned earlier. Information about the castle, the wall, the ducket, which was pigeons were reared in this ducket to supply the castle and village with food, similar to the thing we saw at the Penman Point on Anglesey. Sword. The sword, dating from the 7th or 8th century and probably used in battle by the kings of Northumbria, was discovered by archaeologists working on the castle site. The sword was made of 6 twisted strands of iron welded to form the core. I've not got my glasses on. Then a steel cutting edge was added, a unique method of sword making only to be seen in the Bamburgh sword. I was saying about the rock earlier. The castle rock has been inhabited from prehistoric times. At first just a few huts surrounded by a wooden balustrade, then more fortifications, ditches and walls, etc. were added. Then a Norman castle made of stone was built. This was partially restored in the 18th century. The castle we see today was restored and mostly rebuilt by Lord Armstrong in the 19th century. So quite a lot of it's fairly modern then, isn't it? A little bit about St Aidan, is that?
Yeah, Aidan came to Bamburgh from the monastery of Iona in 635 AD, and he came at the request of King Oswald, who wanted a bishop to bring the message of the gospel to the people of Northumberland, or Northumbria as it was then. Aidan then founded a church on this spot that has continued as a place of Christian belief and witness over the centuries for local people and visitors. And we're off to the church shortly.
And I've just noticed the plaque beside out looking up. This shop, the pantry, above the door. Grace Horsley Darling died here on the 20th of October 1842, and that plaque was put up there in July 1938. We didn't film, well, we just had coffee because music was playing, but we are going to insert a photograph now of just how good Nab and Bay are when we go into a coffee shop. They just settled down. There was another little dog in there that was a little bit yappy, and the owners actually got told, or asked politely in fact, to take it off the sofa that they were letting it sit on. Ours wouldn't dream of doing that unless we were invited to do so, but they just settled down, as you can see in the photograph. Heading to the church now. It's still in Bamburgh. This is a nice old brick wall with a decorative hat and lights. Lovely old weathered brickwork. I do like to touch and have a feel of things. There's the church that we're going to. St Aidan's Parish Church, Bamburgh. And there is a particular reason that we've come to this church. Big church. Before we get to the main reason why we've come to this church and churchyard, we'll go down into St Aidan's crypt. It's the last resting place of the remains of 110 people who lived in Bamburgh about 1400 years ago. So this is the Bamburgh ossuary. Ossuary. St Aidan's crypt.
Welcome to Bamburgh and St Aidan's Church. This is a popular place to live and visit. What has brought you here today? And what brought people here in the past? Years ago, Northumberland was one of the great Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. Its king, St Oswald, had his royal palace here in Bamburgh. Oswald was a Christian, which was a new religion in Britain at the time. St Oswald asked the Christian monastery on Iona to send a monk to help him spread the word of God in his kingdom. They sent St Aidan.
I don't know whether you can see through there, but there's the boxes with all the bones that they excavated. They're not wooden, they're metal boxes or tombs now in the ossuary.
We've really come to this churchyard. We wanted to see this.
This is the resting place of Grace Darling. We've mentioned her before, the heroine of the lifeboat rescue, and this is where she's laid to rest. We've just seen where she died, just across the way.
She was only young, 26 years old.
But her resting place is on the hill here in the churchyard at Bamburgh, and can be seen from the sea to give reassurance to the seamen out there.
She became such a national heroine that books and poems were written about her, portraits painted of her, and even offers of marriage were made. The publicity she received was actually overwhelming. But only 4 years after that famous rescue, she died of TB.
I didn't know why she died or how she died.
No, TB, yeah. Public money in 1844 was raised to build this monument in the churchyard. And the first person to contribute and pay money for the cost was Queen Victoria. The effigy of Grace with a Coble's oar, which is the boat her and her father used to go and rescue the sailors, was sculpted in Portland stone, which weathered very quickly. In 1885, at a cost of approximately £100, it was replaced with a replica sculpted in local stone, and the original was moved into the church. And in 1893, the stone pitch canopied roof was destroyed in a violent storm, and this was replaced by this new design. In 1995, the Grace Darling Memorial Charitable Trust was set up to protect and preserve, for the benefit of the public, the memorial and the gravestone of Grace Darling. And there you can see the sea. As Keith said, sailors would have seen it better. They chopped that tree down as well.
I don't suppose it was there.
Probably
Or
not.
certainly not as big.
We'll go and have a look in the church now, and then we're going just over there to the RNLI station. Or RNLI Museum, I think it is. King Oswald invited St Aidan to his castle for various feasts. Although the bishop rarely attended and would only eat in silence before returning to his prayers. On one particular Easter feast, Aidan got to observe the effect he had on the king. As a silver platter full of rich foods was placed on their table, a servant entered the dining hall to inform the king and bishop of a multitude begging for alms outside the gates. Before Aidan could speak, Oswald immediately ordered all the food to be distributed to the beggars and for the silver plates to be broken into pieces and given to them. Seeing such an act of generosity, Aidan grasped the king's right hand and blessed him, saying, "May this hand never decay," and it never did. Bede records that even after Oswald was struck down in battle, his right arm never corrupted and was kept in a shrine where many people reported miraculous cures from the king's relic. And here it is. Those radiators. Try some washing on them. According to the Venerable Bede, St Aidan, Bishop of Lindisfarne, died near this place in AD 651. And Keith just pointed out to me up there.
Roundhead, new model army. Battle dress, by the look of it.
It's almost like a cathedral, isn't it?
It is.
ossuary is a place or container where the bones of dead people are kept. It's a final resting place of human bones following a temporary burial elsewhere. The original church was made of wood, probably with a thatched roof, and it's reported that Aidan died leaning against a beam outside the church. This beam survived 2 occasions when the church burnt down. It is said to be forked. It is said to be the forked beam visible in the roof above the font at the back of the church. And that's an actual ossuary size. These carved stone faces are designed to look ancient, but you may be surprised to find that they are probably only 200 years old. It was fashionable in the early 1800s to decorate churches with medieval faces. But Victorian stone carvers didn't really know how people dressed 1,000 years ago, and often got it wrong.
I don't know whether we'll be able to see on the video, but up there is a forked beam which this light is hanging from. That's allegedly or supposedly the beam that St Aidan leant by as he died.
The beam survived at least 2 fires and became an object of veneration and was thought to have miraculous healing properties. People came to touch it and even take bits away, and years later it was built up into the baptistry ceiling to keep it out of reach of people.
And this window is dedicated to charity, fortitude and hope. It's the Grace Darling window, commemorating her life and the heroism on the wreck of the Forfarshire on the 7th of September 1838.
Aidan came to Bamburgh from the monastery of Iona in 635. He came at the request of King Oswald for a bishop to bring a message of the gospel to the people of Northumbria. He was a wise and gentle man who lived a simple life, travelling mostly on foot so he could meet and talk to as many people as possible. This is the church. He founded a church on this spot. There's been a Christian community in Bamburgh ever since Aidan's time. Oswald, son of the King of Northumbria, spent much time in exile on Iona and was educated by the monks there. But he regained the kingdom in 633 when he defeated Cadwallon at the Battle of Heavenfield near Hexham, raising a large cross before fighting a much larger force. And Bamburgh was his royal castle. He gave Lindisfarne to Bishop Aidan and helped him as an interpreter to teach the people of the area their own language. King Oswald increased the spread of Christianity by persuading the King of Wessex to accept preachers from Northumbria. Through marriage, alliances and diplomacy, as well as through battles, he became recognised as King of all Saxon England. There's a sad... Keith just had to go out to get the other camera because we ran out of battery. There's a sad memorial stone over here that I found. 14-year-old girl who died in loving memory of Georgina Black, the 7th daughter of Henry Ogleshort and Anne Black, his wife, of Warren House. Whilst bathing at the Budle Sands, she was carried away into the unknown deep, waiting for the coming of his Lord at the great day when the sea shall give up her dead. So, she died in 1878, just 14 years old. It looks impressive on the outside, but when you come in, it's almost, we said before, didn't we, it's almost cathedral-like. It is all cathedral. Come over from the church, just across the road, to the Grace Darling Museum.